Tonight we are talking about listening to your highest self. Are you receiving the messages that are continuously being sent to you from your highest self? Think of your highest self as a perfected version of yourself that is always standing by, giving you the answers to the test. So tonight we're going to talk about signs that perhaps you are not listening to your divine guidance. Greetings, Marilyn. Nice to have you in the room tonight. Tonight we're talking about how to know if you are perhaps not listening to the signs and signals, the guidance that is constantly being offered to you from your highest self. So I'm really happy to get into this with you guys tonight. Super exciting information. And there also are varying levels of discernment, varying levels of listening to your highest self. And we're going to talk about that tonight and discuss some ways to increase your discernment of the messages coming to you from your highest self. Greetings, Shanae. Greetings, Zena Electra. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Glad to see you all coming into the room. So I want to get some feedback from you all tonight. Let me know if these things are sounding familiar to you, if these things are making sense to you as we get into the information. Let me know how you feel when you know you are hearing from your highest self, when you feel sure in the deepest part of yourself that you're going in the right direction. And how do you feel at times when you're not sure if you're hearing from your highest self? You think that, you want to hear from your higher self, but maybe you feel like you're not. Greetings, Dabney. Glad to have you in the room tonight. So, you all, listen, let's get into this topic tonight of listening to your highest self. The title tonight is, do you hear yourself? Are you listening? Okay, and this is part 2 to last week. Okay, we did do you hear yourself? The wise one within. Okay, so as you all know, and maybe some watching the video don't know, my name is Pangea Northstar. I'm an attraction coach. I'm a Reiki healer. I'm a sound therapist and a spiritual teacher. So I'm always talking to you all about attracting love energy, utilizing the laws of attraction. We're always discussing our energy centers, right? Which is our 7 basic chakras is what we tend to talk about on a Tuesday night. So tonight we're speaking from the perspective of our third eye chakra, right? Which is associated with imagination and intuition, right? So very key centers of divine guidance. We are discussing also crown chakra energy, right? Very, very much that is divine guidance, the center of divine guidance. But we're also discussing the solar plexus chakra, okay? That is another center in which we receive messages from our divine guidance, right? Our solar plexus is located in our abdomen. It's just below the sternum and above the navel. And if you think about in popular culture, we have a saying that says, trust your gut, right? Trust your gut. What does that mean? Trust your inner guidance. Trust your feelings. Trust your intuition and your knowing, right? So that is another center from which we receive guidance. When you know something, just kind of, you know it in your gut, right? I had a gut feeling. Isn't that what we say? Do these things sound familiar? If so, give me some hearts in the chat. So we're going to get into it and talk about why is it that these centers are important when it comes to following your intuition, hearing from your divine guidance, okay? All right, so now, what are some ways to know if you are experiencing energetic blockages that are preventing you from hearing from your highest self, from hearing from your divine guidance, from getting those messages just right, from hearing those messages clearly, right? What is a sign? Sign number 1 is you feel that people are not listening to you. You feel that other people are not listening to you. You go through your life feeling unseen and unheard. Why is this a sign or a symptom that you aren't hearing from your divine guidance, that you aren't listening to yourself, essentially, right? Because that's a mirror. That's a mirror, right? So the energy that we send out into the universe is the same energy that returns to us, right? So if we're attracting people that don't listen to us, people that make us feel unseen and unheard, right? That is a good indicator that you don't hear you, right? You are not listening to you, right? If you don't think your own thoughts and feelings are important, why would other people think your thoughts and feelings are important? So while it may be easy to overlook and not realize that you're not in tune with yourself, you can sense that other people are not in tune with you. When people are, constantly interrupting you, not responsive to you, can't take advice from you, don't value your thoughts and your opinions, you see and feel that. It affects your relationships, right? Give me some hearts in the chat if you know what I'm talking about, if you've ever experienced this. If this is a common experience, if this is a thread throughout your life, this is a sign that you are not listening to you. You're not listening to your own advice, right? If you're not projecting confidence, right? You're not projecting an aura that says, I'm worthy of listening to. I'm getting results over here. If you're not listening to you, right? So you're just kind of looking at the fact that people aren't listening to you and hearing you and seeing you for who you really are, and kind of reverse engineer it. When you say, where is that coming from? Well, am I listening to me? Okay? And 9 out of 10, the answer is going to be no. No, I'm not. Okay? That's just a thing that is happening as a result of the energy not being right? An energetic imbalance. Okay? So, another sign that you're not listening to yourself, you're not really taking heed to your divine guidance, is indecisiveness. Indecisiveness, right? Going back and forth inside of yourself about decisions. When you find yourself being indecisive, this could be about big things or about small things. This is your ego wrestling with your intuition. Okay, something inside of you is saying, "Oh, I think this may be the right way," and then something else inside of you, ego, says, "No, I don't think so. Let's not go that direction. Let's not go over there. Let's not do that. Let's not take that risk, right? Let's stay here where it's safe." Okay. Now, the thing that we need to make sure that we always know and recognize about the ego is that the ego has a scarcity mindset. Okay. The ego has a goal of just staying alive. The ego will accept scraps just to stay alive in its current form. Ego is not thinking about becoming a more expansive, more authentically powerful version of you. Okay, that's not the ego's job. Okay, let's give an example of a relationship. Think of a relationship, right, in which you're not really being fulfilled, right? Think of an on again, off again relationship. In this relationship, you're really not being fulfilled. So you're always kind of pulling away from the person, or they're always pulling away from you. And then you run back and you're like, oh, it didn't feel comfortable when I was away from you. I was, scared or insecure, or lonely or whatever. So you run back for whatever little scraps of comfort are there. Then you get there and you're like, oh man, this is not fulfilling though. I'm not happy. I want more than this. So then you leave again. Right? You could also use the example of a job that you hate. It doesn't make you happy, but it pays you just enough for you to maintain the lifestyle that you're used to. Right? If these scenarios, if you've ever been in this scenario, be honest. If you've ever been in this scenario, give me some hearts in the chat. Does this sound familiar? It creates this cognitive dissonance, this push and pull, right? The back and forth, because ego has a scarcity mindset. The ego says, let's just settle for what we can get, right? And it's like, this ain't it. This relationship ain't it. The job ain't it. But the ego is afraid that you'll never find anything better, that nothing else better is available. So the ego's like, let's just stay right here where it's safe, where things are predictable, and we pretty much know what's going to happen next. Even though being unhappy and being miserable may be what's next, at least we know what's next, right? That feels safe because it's predictable, right? Yep, thank you for the hearts in the chat. Like we've all been here, myself included. We've all been here, right? And we tend to hit these same types of cycles or same types of tests and challenges in life in different forms over and over again, right? You just hit the same challenge at a higher level and a higher level and a higher level, right? If you've ever found yourself feeling like, man, I thought I learned this lesson already. How is this the same lesson again? Right? That happens, right? But maybe last time, it was the same lesson, but at a lower level. Maybe less was at stake, right? And in a few years, you find yourself learning that same lesson again, but more is at stake. You're learning a lesson again about a scarcity mindset, about, taking the more expansive route, right? Taking the more expansive path, right? But there's more at risk this time, okay? So don't beat yourself up when you feel that happening. Just learn to recognize it, okay? So another sign that you're not listening to yourself. When I say listen to yourself, listening to your highest self, right? Not following your divine guidance, not listening to your intuition, is that you disregard unpopular opinions. You easily dismiss and disregard unpopular opinions without even considering it. Okay, now this may be a bit surprising to hear, but I'm going to tell you why. Okay, and what we're talking about, this one actually is related to the crown. It's related to the third eye. It's related to the solar plexus, as we said, but this is also kind of bringing in the throat chakra. Okay, the throat chakra energy, because that has to do with hearing other people, not just speaking and voicing your own opinions, but being open to other people's opinions, right? Now, why would I say you quickly disregard other people's opinions when you're not listening to yourself? Or unpopular opinions when you listen to yourself? Because a lot of times, what your divine guidance is telling you is not popular. It's not what everyone else is saying. This is that small, still voice that's saying, listen, I know this is what everybody else is doing. I know this is the path that everyone else is telling you to take, but I'm telling you that this path over here is the right path for you. And when you become you become used to listening to your divine guidance, and that's your way of life, it trains your ear to be attuned to that unpopular opinion that may be correct. It may not be popular, but it is correct. Or it may be something that resonates with you. Let me know in the chat if this makes sense to you. If you are the type of person that's able to listen for an unpopular opinion and not automatically dismiss it, it's likely because you've been in situations in your life where you've heard that divine guidance in you telling you to do something that's totally countercultural, something that is counterintuitive for other people, something that may look strange for other people, but it was the right thing for you. You may have been in a situation, I'll give an example that I've been in, and I've had friends that were in. You may have been in a relationship that looked really happy on the outside. You may have been with someone. This is a good example. I'm just giving an example. It could be a great relationship that looked great on the outside, or a job that looked great on the outside, right? But something about it just didn't sit right with you. Behind the scenes, you were unhappy. Somewhere behind the scenes, you were compromising yourself in ways that were not healthy for you, right? Now, someone on the outside looking in may have said, "Oh, girl, that's a good man. Y'all look so happy." Or, "Oh, that's a good woman. Y'all look so happy," right? Or, "That job, pays you a lot of money. You're making great money. Congratulations." But inside, you're miserable. You're giving up parts of yourself that you do not need to be giving up. Parts of yourself that are not happy to compromise. So your divine guidance, that voice inside of you is saying, "No, we got to go. We got to get out of here. This is not good. We need to be doing something else," right? That is an unpopular opinion, but that is your divine guidance. Okay. So when you're following your divine guidance, it opens you up. It tunes your ear to unpopular opinions. Okay. We are not quick to dismiss unpopular opinions just because they're unpopular. Okay. If that makes sense, give me some more hearts in the chat. Okay. All right. I know I've definitely been in both situations, both of those situations. Okay. Another sign that you're not listening to your divine guidance, you're not hearing yourself, you're not taking heed to that voice within, is that you need validation from others to feel confident in a decision. Okay. You're in need of validation from other people to feel confident in the decision that you make, right? That is a sign that you are not in the habit of listening to your divine guidance. Because when you are listening to your divine guidance, when you're in a habit of doing that, and that is the way that you live your life, you find that there is a reward. There's an internal reward and an external reward when you follow your divine guidance. Once you get in that habit and you receive that guidance and you follow that guidance and it works out for you, you're like, "Oh man, wow, that's great. I had a feeling that this was the right way to go. I went that way and it paid off," right? When you do that a few times, you get more and more and more confident in following your divine guidance. And it doesn't take too long before other people's opinion, other people's validation, other people's confirmation of what you're doing really doesn't matter. Okay. And it feels so good when you're able to steer your own ship, right? When you become the source of your own guidance. Give me some hearts in the chat if that makes sense to you. If you're still in a place where you feel like you need to check in with other people and get other people's opinion, ask yourself, who's really guiding my life? Who am I really listening to? Is it my divine guidance or is it other people? Right? So if you find yourself still needing a bit of external validation, I want you to tighten up. I want you to lean into following your own divine guidance. Okay? Just test it out. You could start with really small things. You could start with small things. Like sometimes, when you're driving or you're about to leave home and something inside says, "Hey, let's go a different route to our destination today. Let's not go the route that we normally go." Or, let's pull up our GPS system and get some guidance instead of going the way we automatically normally go. You may get a little unction, a little nudge inside of you on something just that small, right? And then later you realize as you're, following the GPS directions, you may be crossing over an interstate, for example, or overpass where you would normally get on the interstate. You happen to look over and go, "Oh, wow, look at all that traffic. I'm so glad I did decide to pull up the GPS and not just hop on the interstate or go the route I always go," right? It could be small things. Some of you, many of you are getting a internal guidance right now to stop eating meat, to pull away from the chicken, right? Because there is a chicken flu epidemic happening, right? So many of you heard in your spirit to pull away from that, before anyone even told you that there's a chicken flu epidemic going on, right? Many of us experience these things all the time where it's like, man, I got a little nudge to do XYZ. And then next thing I know, I get a confirmation, something happens that let me know that was the exact right thing to do, even though I hadn't got any external validation. It's just an internal nudge. So start following those small nudges, regardless to how it looks to anybody else. Don't worry about how it looks to anyone else. Just follow those nudges. And I promise you, the universe is going to find a way to get a confirmation to you, to get a message to you. You'll hear something. Someone will tell you something. You'll see an article. You'll see a post on social media. Some kind of way, the universe will get the message to you that, see, that thing you did that I told you to do, or that thing you avoided that I told you to avoid, here's why, right? Because the universe wants us to become more and more adherent to our internal guidance, okay? If you've ever been in a situation where you felt like your spirit was telling you to do something and you didn't know why, but you just did it and it paid off, give me some fire signs in the chat or give me an example. Let me know what happened. Share some comments with me and let me know when that happened to you. I'm sure we've all experienced it. Okay, so let's do another sign, okay? Another sign that you have a difficult time, another sign that you're having a difficult time staying in tune with your inner guidance or hearing yourself, is that you have a difficult time hearing opinions that oppose your own, okay? You have a difficult time, you feel threatened, you feel challenged, you get defensive when you hear someone else's opinions or beliefs that are opposing yours. You get triggered, right? This is actually a sign that you are not truly in tune with your own inner guidance, okay? Here's why. If you are truly confident, with no doubt in your own inner guidance, it wouldn't matter what anybody else's opinion is, right? When following your own inner guidance, your own intuition is tried and true for you over a period of time, and you've seen yourself grow, you've seen your blessings multiply over a period of time, you've seen yourself become more expansive, more powerful, more able to direct your own life, more able to, you've seen yourself gain more control over the results you're getting in your life, right? You don't care about someone else's opinion opposing yours, right? And like we spoke of earlier, sometimes your inner guidance will have told you to do something that looked opposing to everyone else. So if that's a habit for you, to listen to your own divine guidance when you see someone else standing in their truth, right? And it's opposing what you think, it'll make you think back on yourself and that time that you did the same thing. And you'll look at them and be able to encourage them, even though they're opposing your own opinion, right? Because you'll be able to sit back into a knowing and a trusting that they are following what is right for them in that moment. Just like the many times you have followed what was right for you in a moment, even though it looked weird to everybody else, right? If this makes sense to you, give me some hearts in the chat, right? But that person who is not confident in, their internal guidance, and they're really pulling their guidance from somewhere external, they feel a very strong need to defend that. Their ego rises up. They become very triggered, very defensive. They may be angry, they may be shutting you down, they may be talking over you. If you find yourself doing these behaviors, ask yourself, am I really being triggered by their confidence in their inner guidance? Is there something in me that's afraid that the guidance I'm following really isn't it's not legit. It's really not sincere. It's really not for me. I'm following a message that maybe it was really for someone else. Maybe I'm just following everything I hear on social media. Maybe I'm just following popular opinions, right? Maybe I'm just blending into the crowd rather than seeking out the best path for me. Ask yourself that question. Okay, we're gonna move on, guys, because we're almost out of time. We want to keep it moving here. But thank you guys so much for the support and the excitement in the chat. Give me some examples of some times that you have followed your inner guidance, and then you realize later, man, you got a confirmation from the universe. If you know what I'm talking about, let me know in the chat. Drop me some comments, okay? Now, what are some ways that you can transmute or clear these blockages? What are some ways that you can improve your ability to hear from your divine guidance, to follow your divine guidance? Okay, I'm going to give you a couple of different ways here. Okay, now one is I want you to do a journaling exercise. Okay, now remember we talked about earlier, one of the ways you know that you're not listening to yourself is that you feel indecisive. You tend to kind of go back and forth and wrestle with yourself about a particular subject. Okay, what I want you to do is journal about the subject that you're indecisive about. Let's go back to that example of a relationship, right? Journal about this relationship, okay? Ask yourself, what is the underlying fear that you're dealing with, okay? Now I want you to write out, what are the things that you are afraid will happen if you make a decision and stick to it? Okay, now notice I said make a decision and stick to it, because I want you to write out what would happen on both sides of the equation, right? What is it that you're afraid will happen if you stay in the relationship? What is it that you are afraid will happen if you leave the relationship? There's got to be some type of fear. If there wasn't some type of fear there, you wouldn't be waffling. Okay? There's some type of fear, there's some type of doubt. So what is it really that you're afraid of? I'm afraid that if I stay, XYZ will happen. I'm afraid that if I leave, XYZ will happen. Okay? Now, I want you to write out, like I said, both sides of the equation. And then I want you to read that aloud to yourself. Read both scenarios aloud to yourself. Okay? Now, when you read both scenarios out loud to yourself, I want you to pay attention. Notice the feelings that you feel in your body. Notice the emotions that you feel. Do you feel anxiety? Do you feel tension? Do you feel fear? Do you feel shame? Do you feel disbelief, sincerity, or insincerity? Do you feel a cautious optimism when you hear yourself speaking out loud? Right? On one hand, you may say, oh, I'm scared that if I leave, I'll never find anybody else that does XYZ for me like this person does it, right? And you may find yourself saying, well, I'm afraid that if I stay, man, wow, I'm actually afraid that it might work out. I'm afraid that I might be happy. I'm afraid that I won't know how to make that other person happy. I'm afraid that I won't know how to fulfill the roles and responsibilities of an adult relationship or having a family or whatever the case may be, right? So when you hear yourself saying those words and feel yourself feeling the feelings, ask yourself, which scenario for me feels more expansive? right? Which one presents a challenge that gives you the opportunity to expand into a more powerful version of yourself? Ask yourself in which scenario, which path that you may take, and which one at the end of the day, when all's said and done, which one would enable you to say, well, I made that decision in pursuit of the best version of myself. The path that allows you to say, I made that decision in pursuit of the best version of myself, that is the path that your inner guidance, that your divine guidance, your intuition is pushing you towards. Okay, this is how one way you can begin to recognize which path is the path your divine guidance is pushing you towards. Okay, we're talking about learning to hear yourself better, learning to discern your voice from the many, many, many voices that we are exposed to every single day, right? Greetings from New York. Greetings to Diggy Mo. Thank you so much for joining the chat. All right. So when you do this journal exercise, long story short, you're going to write out both sides of the equation. You're going to listen to yourself, notice how you feel, and ask yourself, which path is the more expensive path? Okay. Which decision would be in alignment with your heart's greatest desires? Okay. All right. So the next and the last way that you can get in tune with and begin to hear more clearly from your highest self is balancing your gut microbiome. What? Yes, that's not what you was expecting me to say, is it? Balancing your gut, okay? Balancing your gut. Now, this is going to take us back to, again, third eye chakra, crown chakra, as well as our solar plexus, okay? Now, you could also argue throat chakra, okay? But why is it important? Why is balancing your gut microbiome important to being able to clearly discern, clearly hear from your internal guidance, right? From hearing from your highest self, your divine guidance. The answer is not simple, but I'm going to explain it to you in the best way that I can, okay? We have millions of microorganisms living within our digestive system, okay? And our solar plexus, which we talked about earlier, our solar plexus chakra, is part of that energy center, rules the digestive system. It is associated with our digestive system, okay? Now, and this is one of the energy centers through which we receive our internal guidance. Remember, we have all these things. I felt it in my gut. I knew it in my gut. Follow your gut. This is the reason why. This is one of the places where we receive divine guidance. Okay? Now, the microorganisms that make up what we call our gut microbiome are, some of them we are born with, right? When we come out of our mother's womb, our microbiome is largely made up of the microorganisms that we got from our mother. They're passed down from generation to generation. These are the microorganisms that are native to our body, but the ones that belong here. Okay. Now, as we go throughout life and we begin to eat sugar and other, processed foods and take on toxic chemical residue in our bodies through our food supply and the things we eat and drink, right? We begin to take on foreign microorganisms, parasitic microorganisms, okay? Sugar is one of the things that feeds these microorganisms, okay? Along with processed foods. These microorganisms, these little bitty, tiny living organisms, They consume food, and anything that consumes food also produces waste. Okay? The waste produced by those microorganisms is a chemical that affects our thought processes. Okay? It affects our brain. These are chemical messengers that affect the way we think and the way we feel. So we're talking about our thoughts and our moods. Okay? Now, you will notice that as you begin to balance out your gut, you have a stronger mental clarity. Okay? Balancing your gut gives you a stronger mental clarity. It eliminates brain fog. Okay? Now, if you are like me, you're seeing these ads everywhere. A great example is the ads for mushroom coffee. Mushroom coffee helps to balance your gut. And what are they always saying? Increase your mental clarity. You know, get your energy back. Why? Because these parasites are producing chemical waste that affects your ability to think. They're also draining your energy. These are living organisms that are living off of you, living off of what you're intaking that should be giving your body some nutritional benefit, but they're not. Okay? As a matter of fact, when you eat junk, you're making your body do work, breaking down that food, but it gets absolutely nothing in return. Okay? So that's another way in which it's draining your energy. Okay? So this is also the reason why fasting is a part of every major religion. Think about it. Abstaining from eating food, right? Just taking a time period in which you're not putting anything in your body. Why? Because when you are fasting, the longer you fast, the more the parasites and the microorganisms that are foreign to your body, the more they start to die off because they're not getting fed. But your body, because your body is designed to restore and to repair itself, it begins to produce more and more well, I won't say produce the microorganisms, that wouldn't be correct, but the microorganisms that are native to your body and that are natural and that should be in your body, they're able to multiply and they begin to dominate your gut's microbiome. Now, it's natural that we're always going to have some helpful and some harmful microorganisms in our gut, in our digestive tract. You have the yin and the yang. That's part of life. There's some form of balance, but you should have more of the microorganisms that are not harmful, the native microorganisms, the ones that belong there. Okay, so the longer you go with fasting, the more those harmful ones die off. Okay, they're there producing less waste, less chemicals that interfere with your ability to hear from your divine guidance. Okay, so when your gut is clear, when that system is healthy, that knowing that you get in your gut, that is your knowing. It's clear, it's more clear to you. It's easier for you to tap into, right? And also, it's also been proven that those sugars and those toxic chemicals calcify the pineal gland, which is associated with the third eye chakra, your intuition. Okay? So if you think of yourself in this way, I'm going to give you a little challenge, okay? If you think of yourself, your consciousness, as a signal that's being transmitted, a signal being sent out to the universe from a transmission tower. We've all seen the cell phone transmission towers. Think of those transmission towers. They're shaped like that and they have some kind of little pinnacle at the top, right? They're sending out signals and it's receiving signals, okay? Your consciousness is the signal and your body is the transmission tower, right? So cell phone companies have to do maintenance and repairs to keep the tower itself in good condition so that it can send out a strong signal, right? So the same is true for the way we must do maintenance and repair and keep our body in good health, in good strength, in order that our consciousness, which is the signal that's being sent out, and as well as receiving signals, so that that signal remains strong, right? So we're talking about our magnetism, right? When our health is not good because we're eating poorly, or even the fact that you're not exercising, when you allow your transmission tower to fall into bad repair, your signal that you're sending out is not as strong, right? Because your body is not capable of sending out or translating that signal. Also, not as capable of receiving and interpreting the signals that you're receiving, right? Okay, if this makes sense to y'all, give me some hearts in the chat. If you've ever fasted and noticed the mental clarity and the energy that you start to get the longer that you fast, if you've ever fasted past 24 hours, you will notice that you begin to get energy. For anyone who's ever fasted 3 days or longer, you will bear witness that your body kicked into this high-speed energy. And that is the time when your body goes into a very high state of repairing diseases and injuries. And you also get this very high mental clarity when you fast. Okay? So not everybody's able to fast for 24 hours straight or for 48 hours straight or 3 days or longer. Everyone doesn't have that ability, right? And a person, even if you're new to fasting and you start off, I don't suggest that you start off with a goal of, oh, I'm not going to eat for the next 3 days. Work your way up to it. Start off with 12 hours, work your way up. Once you do that, successful a couple of times, go to 24. When you've done that a couple of times, maybe go to 36 or 48, right? Just build it in 12-hour blocks. Another thing you can do to create a sense of stability within your body, in other words, which translates to a sense of stability in your thoughts and your moods, is intermittent fasting. You didn't know we was going here tonight, right? Like, Pangea, I thought we was talking about spiritual stuff. Why are you in my physical business? This is important. This is important. It's all related, okay? We're not just a physical being. We're not just a spiritual being, right? And our physical being and our spiritual being, our emotional being, our mental being are not separate. They're all one, okay? So we have to go into this. So when you do intermittent fasting, you choose a block of time in which you eat, okay? So for me, it's 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. is what I like to do, okay? And when I do that consistently, and I only have a block of time in which I eat, and the rest of the time I do not eat at all, I notice this clarity because it gives my systems a sense of stability, a routine, right? My body's not overworking, right? My body knows, hey, I'm going to be digesting food during this time. The rest of the time is for me to be repairing myself and cleaning up. Our bodies are designed to repair, to naturally repair themselves and clean up diseases and injuries. Yes, injuries. Okay? So when this happens, when our bodies are working at an optimum level, we're eating well and only eating during a certain period of time, this is going to greatly increase your intuition. You're going to begin to hear from your highest self in ways that will blow your mind, because your body's energy is not all over the place. It's not being wasted on trying to break down things that didn't come from the ground, right? When we eat things that come from the ground, our body is just a machine that decodes DNA. So when you eat vegetables and fruits, things that come from nature, your body knows how to decode that DNA. Your body's getting information. It's getting nutrition. It's getting energy. It's getting things it knows, it can do something with, right? But when you put something that was made in the factory in your body, and your body's like, where is the DNA for me to decode? I don't really know what to do with this. Your body sees it as an attack. Your body sees it as trash. It's not getting any benefit from it, and it just kind of goes into confusion. It just goes into confusion, right? And your signals, the transmission from your tower, it becomes weaker and weaker and can become blocked, okay? Because your transmission tower is not being kept in good repair, okay? If that makes sense to you, give me some hearts in the chat. Give me some hearts in the chat tonight. Okay, so this talk has been great, you guys. If you have questions, now is the time for a question. We're actually over time, but I'll take a question if anybody has a question. In the meantime, I just want to review. There are several signs that you may not be hearing from yourself. You're not listening to yourself. You're not taking heed to yourself. Some of those signs would be feeling that other people are not listening to you. It's because you're not listening to yourself. Easily dismissing unpopular opinions because and your divine intuition is not always going to give you, most likely it's going to give you advice that's not popular. But if you were used to following that type of advice, you'd be okay and not threatened by unpopular opinions, right? There are several other things that we listed. I'm not going to list them all again, but if you missed it, please rewind, go back, watch again. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give us some likes. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and give me some comments. Think of a time when you followed your intuition and then later, the universe made sure that you got a sign, you got a confirmation that that message you had followed was right. Think of a time and leave me some comments, okay? I'm going to go through and respond to your comments. I'm going to be looking out for your comments because I know other people are having these experiences, right? You guys, your highest self is a perfected version of you that is always standing by, giving you the answer, right? And when you actually pick up those answers and follow that advice, your highest self rejoices because your highest self is calling you closer to him or her. Your highest self wants to see you win. Your highest self wants to see you succeed, right? Think about how you feel when someone you love does well, when you're able to help someone that you love. That feels good. It feels great. And then when it happens, you want to do it again, right? When you successfully help someone that you love and you see them win, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel warm inside. And you want to help them again, right? When they acknowledge that you help them, right? So think of that. Build that trust and that relationship with their highest self. It's the same dynamic, okay? So begin to lean in. Think of some ways, think of some scenarios, try some of the scenarios I gave you and see if they help you with tuning in, tapping in, and listening to your highest self. Thank you all so much for joining me tonight for episode 39 of Attracting Love Energy, right? And I'll see you again next Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time at another episode of Attracting Love Energy, episode 40. Can't wait to see what we're going to talk about. All right. Have a good night, everybody. Peace, 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 peace. Thanks for all the love in the chat.